Pound account number 011323001. IBAN GB49ARAY 30008301 132301. Sort code 300083. Swift BIC code ARAY GB22. Please confirm your contribution at support@peacetv.tv.
Support Peace TV, the solution for humanity.
Today we are here to talk about an amazing voyage or amazing journey in search of truth. And I am going to tell you how I found my way along the path of life to finding out that there is only one God, that there is only one way, and that is in Islam. So the main reason I submitted my will to Allah is because this is what I was supposed to do from the day I was born. It just took me a long time to realize it. All the teachings that I was giving, all these thick hundreds and hundreds of doctrines that I had been following, were actually doing everything there was possible to prevent me from submitting to Allah. So when I started to peel away all the nonsense, and I saw Allah as pure, and I realized that everything that I do on my own is going to fail. Everything that I do with Allah's permission will succeed. As soon as I finished school, I decided I wanted to study theology. I wanted to study everything there is to know about the Bible and God. And so I started doing courses. I started studying at different institutions. At Durban Bible College and many other colleges. I did correspondence courses, intern classes. I did everything you could imagine to study as much as possible. And for 12 years, that's what I did. I studied most of the time. That's all I did was study. And I studied the Bible backwards and forwards, and I studied in different places in the States and Denmark and many other places. I studied as much as I could. And I thought I knew it all. I thought I had it all. This is now exactly what I had. I knew everything there was to know about Christianity. There's no one who was going to stop me. If I saw a Hindu, I'd go up to him. I was convinced that I could convert him to Christianity within a few minutes. When I walked up to a Buddhist, I knew within a few minutes I could convert him to Christianity. If I walked up to a Satanist, I knew that I could convince him to become a Christian. That's what I had. But there was one group of people that I had a major, major problem with. And that were these people that I used to call ninjas back then. They used to have these funny outfits that they used to wear, and the woman used to, all you could see was their eyes, and I thought, these guys are oppressed. They know nothing about anything. They live in fear and terror the whole time. If I could just get through to these guys. And so I started to study a little bit about the religion. So the best person, the most knowledgeable person I knew was a man by the name of Gilchrist. And I spoke to him and I said to him, tell me about Muslims. And he said, well, first of all, they don't eat eggs. I thought, oh, okay, I must remember that one. They don't eat eggs. It's probably got to do with Easter or something. Because Easter eggs, they don't eat eggs, so that's probably why. So I thought, okay, fine, they don't eat eggs. Second, anything he told me about me, he said, the women are oppressed and they have no rights. So okay, fine, I got that. And he went through all these things that were all rubbish, all nonsense. I later found out that 99% of what he told me was nonsense. It was just propaganda. And it was a way for people to say, oh no, these people are so terrible. And started trying to talk to Muslims about Christianity, and I had no success. And eventually one day I was invited to do a debate against the late Ahmed Deedat with a group of other Christians. And we sat on the platform, and I wasn't the main speaker, I was an assistant. And I sat there, a young man then, and debate started, and Ahmed Deedat would say something about the Trinity, and the Christians would try and just wipe over it and say, well, you see, water has three substances. It can be water, it can be steam, it can be ice, and so God is like water. And I thought, well, when they said that, I thought to myself, but in the water there are millions and millions of little particles. So there are millions of little gods inside of each of those things. So I thought, okay, well, that didn't work for me, so I don't think it's going to work for any of the Muslims that are listening to it either. But what Ahmed Deedat made me do, he made me think. And I started questioning things, but I wasn't interested in becoming a Muslim. All it did was make me realize that Christianity has problems. So I thought, well, if I can maybe correct those problems, then maybe I can just stay a Christian. It'll be fine. And so what I did is I started to remove certain doctrines. For example, I no longer believed in the Trinity. I realized, yes, they're probably right. There is no such thing as a Trinity. But then I kept the other things that I wanted, my little pet things that I wanted to keep. And so slowly but surely, as I started getting involved in the church, and I was a youth pastor, I was an interdenominational priest, I worked for many different missionary organizations, did outreach work in different parts of the country, I started to realize that I was starting to doubt my faith. Now, doubt is the greatest disease in the world. There's no cure for doubt. Did you know that? There's no cure for doubt. If you have problems with lust, if you have problems with anger, if you have problems with hate, if you have problems with stealing, if you have problems with lying, they can be cured. You can change. But doubt, once it creeps in, it's like a cancerous growth. It will move all throughout your body and it will destroy you. And so doubt started to creep in. My doubt started to creep in about Christianity. I believed in God, but I did not believe in the doctrines that the church was teaching anymore. Slowly but surely, I found more and more doctrines that I believed, started moving to a special file that I had. And these files were called cold case files. Anybody know what a cold case file is? A cold case file is an unsolved mystery. If you're a doctor or maybe a person who works in the police force and you get a case that you cannot solve, you take that file and you put it into the cold case files. And what happens, we hope that somebody in the future will come past, take those files out and find the answers to those mysteries. And so what happened, I started adding files, like the Trinity became a cold case file. Baptism, the necessity for a Christian, once he becomes a Christian, to be baptized, went into a cold case file. Why? Because the man that was supposedly crucified next to the Prophet Isa, peace be upon him, on the cross, which we don't believe happened, but let's say we look at the Christian doctrine, the guy next to him on the cross, he didn't have a chance to get off the cross and go get baptized and then climb back onto the cross and say, okay, I'm ready now. So we know that their doctrine within their own text is wrong. So there's no ways that could, so I put that into the cold case files that cannot be solved. And you know what happened after a period of time of about maybe another 5 to 6 or 7 years? I had boxes and boxes and boxes of cold case files, doctrines that had no evidence to be found anywhere in the Bible. And I looked back and they had a room of 3 meters by 3 meters, full of boxes with unsolved mysteries. Thousands and thousands and thousands of boxes of unsolved mysteries with all the information, with all the details in them. Now, I actually had one of the cold case files that I brought with me to India, and it's somehow disappeared. And I had it here, and a few days ago it disappeared. So I don't know who's hijacked it. So if anyone's got my cold case file, can you please bring it back? And so what happened in this cold case files, these are unsolved mysteries, and so they started to accumulate. Now, the church got to me one day, and they said to me, I want you to deliver a talk to the youth. And I want you to talk to the youth about dating, about male-female relations. There's a whole lot of young people that are coming to this convention, about 3,000 people, and I want you to talk to them on what they must do when they go on dates. Are they allowed to hold little fingers? Are they allowed to hold hands? Are they allowed to hug? Are they allowed to kiss? And so I started to go through the Bible, and I said, fine, let me go through the Bible and find out what the Bible says about dating. And as I went through the scriptures and I went through the Bible and I read from Genesis to Revelation, from the first book to the last book, I came across exactly 0 times that dating was permitted. 0 times that you're allowed to be engaged. 0 times that you're allowed to get to know each other or live with each other. 0. So I thought, well, let me have a look at other books. So I looked at the Bhagavad Gita. I looked at some of the Vedas. I looked at Buddhism. I looked at Shintoism and other religions like that. I couldn't find any of them that had anything to do with dating. So when I sat in my study and I was going through all these papers, I thought, well, there's one book I haven't checked out yet. And that's the book of the ninjas. And at the bottom of my bookcase, there was a big white Bible, a white Bible. You know the ones, the Ahmed Deedat style ones, those big thick ones? I thought, this is a big Bible. So I picked it up and I thought, okay, this is not a Bible, it's actually a Quran, because it looked like, you know, one of those big old-fashioned Catholic Bibles. They have these big ones. And I opened this thing, it was still in its plastic. So I opened the plastic and I opened the Quran and I started reading. Now I didn't know where to start. So what I did is I looked to the index and I looked at male-female relations. There wasn't anything like that. So I looked at male and I started reading all the verses to do with men. And then I looked at female and all the verses to do with females. And I found that this was exactly what I had been thinking of as far back as possible. This is what I wanted as a role model to how society should be. And so what I did is I started to write notes. But I didn't write notes from what the Quran had told me. I took the ideas from the Quran and wrote my own notes. And I stood up that day when I had all these young people, and I had my notes, quite a lot of notes, not like today. I had a big thick pack of notes because it was a 2-hour conference or so. And all the young people were sitting like you are sitting here today. And there were boys and girls next to each other, and they were hugging, and they were talking in each other's ears, and they were punching each other. The boys and the girls were laughing and giggling. You know how they carry on with mixed crowds? And for some reason, I looked down and I said, I want all the boys to come to the front and all the girls to go to the back. And they looked at me like, you're crazy. And they thought, what is wrong with this guy? I said, no, just do me a favor. And they were moaning and they were complaining. You could see they didn't want to do it. They were like, this is my girlfriend. I just met her. And they're trying to act all cool. And eventually they moved. And I don't know, at that point, if I think back, I don't know why I did that. I have no clue. There was nothing in my mind that said, I'm going to do this to try and prove a point. It just was something natural that took place. And when I separated them, I realized how many times I'd stood in the church and I'd preached from the same, like I'm preaching now. And I'd look down, and in the front row were all the young girls. And they had their Bibles on their lap, or they had their Bible on the floor, or they had their Bible next to them, no respect for it. And I would look at them and I would be trying to think of my sermon, but always thinking about it as those half-naked girls in the front. And I realized that's why the Muslims do it. That's why they do it, to keep yourself pure. It's almost a selfish deed because you don't want to defile yourself. And so what you do is we have a separation to prevent us from committing something that would be seen as a sin. And so I realized that day to separate them. And they weren't happy with this. And the boys sat there and the girls sat there, and I started opening my mouth. And as I opened my mouth to talk, the first words out of my mouth were probably, many people have said I was possessed by a devil. The Christians say I was possessed by a devil. The other people say this was Allah opening up a veil for you, allowing you to see. And the first words out of my mouth after separating was, Christianity has nothing to offer Islam, and Islam has everything to offer Christianity. Whoa, I couldn't believe I just said that. And so I tried to backtrack. I tried to say, what I mean to say by that is, if you go to Mecca today and you hear the call to prayer, when the call to prayer comes, people leave everything and they go. I thought, oh, I'm getting worse. It's making it worse. I'm trying to tell people how to deal with situations. I'm actually making it worse. I'm telling people more about how good Islam is. And so it kept going. It just kept flowing. I kept comparing one thing to the other, how we respect our elders, how we submit ourselves in prayer 5 times a day. Want to make sure that we clean and we present ourselves good and clean to other human beings, that we live as a good example. And I tried to compare that to Christianity, and I found that was lacking in almost every area. Then I thought, okay, I'm losing this battle here. I'm going to be in big trouble at the end of this. Let me try this. I said, well, let's consider the prophet Jesus. So I didn't say the prophet Jesus then. I said, look at the model of Jesus Christ. What did he look like? Did he have a pair of baggies on and a T-shirt and a hang ten cap on? Or what did he look like? And they said, well, he had a beard. And I said, what else? And he said, he wore robes. And I said, what else? They said, he prayed a lot. What else? He was always clean. What else? And so what I found out is, the more I asked, the more I realized that Muslims emulate the Prophet Isa, peace be upon him, way more than Christians ever did.
Their advice.
Who was raised under the banner of La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah.
Their guidance,
Their foundation is based on the Quran and the teaching of the Messenger of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
their example.
When the sun is above the heads of the people,
Sayyid Raghi,
this young man or young lady, on the day of Yawm al-Qiyamah, they will be under that shade, the shade of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
going in the divine direction, blessing of Allah, the world of Muslim youth, every Friday at 3:30 p.m. and repeat telecast at 2 a.m. UK on Peace TV.
Every human being can agree to disagree or disagree to agree. Dispute superstitions and refute the myth which is created around the word religion, which is misinterpreted, misconstrued and misjudged. Let's wake up from delusion. And step into the world of reality with confidence. Find all the answers to confront or defy, reject or accept, dispute or challenge when caught in crossfire.
Misconceptions clarified, falsehood exposed, and truth revealed. Discover the reality with Dr. Zakir Naik in Crossfire every Saturday at 8:30 p.m. and repeat telecast at 12:30 p.m. UK on Peace TV.
Modern Christianity is so far away, just on the looks, just on the outside, let alone on the inside, what they actually need to do, that I realized by the end of the talk, there was no way I could say Christian anymore. And so eventually the decision was made by my elders and by the church that I needed to take 1 year off. I need to go think about my faith because I was causing problems. I was causing problems in the church and problems with myself, so I needed to take a year off, which I did. During this year, my brother and myself, we lived on a coastal area and a coastal resort. Now, maybe some of you want to know a little bit about my personality. I'm a surfer. So I'm one of those typical surfer guys that you see carrying a surfboard and goes and surfs in the water. I enjoy surfing, I enjoy horse riding, I enjoy fencing, I enjoy those types of sports, but there must be balance. Obviously, I don't do that all the time when time allows it, which is these days once a month. And so when we were at this coastal resort, my brother had a fixation. He loved animals, he loved fish, he loved plants, he loved any natural or anything about nature. And so we used to do a daily or a monthly pilgrimage to the city. And when we went to the city, we would go buy fish food and animal food and dog food and whatever food that he needed to feed his animals that he had. And we went to this one pet shop, and every time we went into this pet shop during this year, this woman would look at me and she would say, welcome, and we would buy the things, and he'd be looking around, and I'd be standing there bored looking at one of the books there, paging through one of the books. And then she'd say to me, you know what? And I'd say, what? She said, God is one. And I looked at her and I go, oh, wow, that was amazing. That must have taken you years to practice that. And I was very sarcastic with her, and I walked off. Next time I came to the shop, she would go to me and say, no, what? And I'd say, what? She'd say, God is one. I'd go, okay, whatever. And I'd walk off. And this went on and on and on like this for months. The one day when she did it to me again, I said, listen, what are you? Are you a Jehovah's Witness, a Seventh-day Adventist, a Buddhist? What are you? She said, no, I'm a Muslim. I said, haha, there we go. That explains it. You guys with your God is one, God is one, God is one. I said, listen, I've studied for 12 years. I know what it's all about. I can teach you about religion. I can teach you about... She said, all I wanted to tell you is God is one. That's all I'm telling you. So I was so angry with her that my brother and myself, we walked out the shop and I was storming. I was angry and I thought, now I'm going to go sort these people out once and for all. I'm going to go to that Islamic Propagation Center in South Africa where I'm from, and I'm going to tell that Ahmed Deedat a thing or two. I'm going to show him the verses in the Bible that oppose many of the things that he's teaching. So I went there, and as I got to the office and I got to the lift and I got to the fourth floor where the building is, I got there, and as I was in the reception, there was a woman there and she said to me, Assalamu alaikum. And I thought, what, who? I don't know what she was saying. I said, no, I've actually come to see Mr. Deedat. She said, Mr. Deedat's not here anymore. This was 2002. He's very ill at the moment. But if you'd like to see someone else, we can introduce you to another man. I said, okay, I'll see him. I don't mind anybody. And so when he walked into the man's office, there was a man there by the name of Ford Hendricks. And Brother Ford Hendricks said, come sit down, and we sat and spoke. And I was letting him rip for about an hour. I argued, and he argued, and he didn't argue. He was listening, and he kept feeding me tea and giving me biscuits and giving me tea and giving me biscuits, more tea and more biscuits. You know, when you meet a Muslim, they just want to feed you, and you get fatter and fatter and fatter. I thought, wow, I'm going to come back to this place again just for the biscuits and the tea. And so this man just kept doing dawah, and he just kept telling me. And he got to a point in the talk where he just kept arguing. Next minute, I looked for my brother, and he had disappeared. So I thought, okay, he's gone to the bathroom again because they're giving us so much tea and so many biscuits. But 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes went by, and he still hadn't come back. I thought, uh-oh, this is a Muslim place, and it's the 4th floor. They probably thrown him out the window. And so I went to look for him, and I couldn't find him anywhere. And I went through one of the rooms, and I said, listen, have you seen my brother? And they said, yeah, he's over here. And he came walking down the corridor with a big smile on his face. I thought, uh-oh. And he said, guess what? I said, what? He said, I've become a Muslim. I thought, oh, no. As soon as we get out of here, I'm going to detox you. I'm going to get all that nonsense out of your head. These guys have brainwashed you. I should never have brought you along. And so I went back into the office where Ford Hendricks was, and I said, you guys have got no right. This man's a young man. How can you brainwash him, blah, blah, blah. And he said, no, let me explain what happened. He said, when we die, there are 7 different heavens, so different rewards for different... I said, what? And he said, when you die, there are 7 heavens, different... I said, no, go back to the 7 heavens part again. He said, there are 7 heavens. You can't all go to the same place. Some people have just taken the kalima, have just taken the shahada, and those people who have lived their whole life, there has to be different rewards, just like there would be in a normal system. I said, wow, I've never heard that before. You see, and I told him about my dream that I had when I was 7 years old, 8 years old. And I said to him, these guys were chanting this thing, and he said, what did it sound like? So I said, la, 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 la. He said, oh, la ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. I said, yes, what language is that? And he said, it's Arabic. No. And that was convincing. I didn't want a sign, or I didn't want wonders, but that was enough to convince me that there's a further investigation that needs to take place in this religion. And so what happened, I made a declaration to investigate. And as we started talking, he said to me, before you leave here today, what do you think will happen if you die in the state that you are now? Your brother is going to go to paradise. All his sins are removed. Everything that he has done in the past are gone. He starts with a brand new page, a clear page, nothing on it. And I said to him, well, I need to think about these things. And he said, think about them, but you don't have to be perfect to be a Muslim. All you need to do is take that step. You need to believe in your mind. You need to believe in your heart. You need to believe by the actions you do. You need to believe by the practices. You need to believe that there is no other God but God. And I said, oh, no, you guys again, this woman, and I told about this woman in the pet shop who told me for a year there's only one God. And he said, yes, there is only one God. So I said, I do believe that. I don't believe in the Trinity because I realized from when at a young age that is ridiculous, that it doesn't found in. And I told him about my cold case files. And he said, isn't that enough evidence? What more do you need? What other evidence do you need? The doctrines that you believed in the doctrines of the church over the Bible. And then I realized that, when I taught from the Bible, the only thing I was prepared to teach from was the red letter Bible. The red letter Bible is all the teachings of the Prophet Isa, peace be upon him, are written in red. And all the teachings of the Prophet Isa, peace be upon him, will fill up 2 foolscap pages. That's it. All the teachings. All the rest are somebody else's teachings. And so that's all I was able to teach from when I was a Christian. And when he made me understand, and I saw, yes, here's a doctrine that I've been following that had nothing to do with the Bible. These were doctrines of the church. And so I said to him, okay, I will accept Islam on one condition. And he said, what is that? I said, as long as you teach me, and you do not lie to me, you do not deceive me, you do not hold anything back from me, and you give it to me straightforward. I don't care how hard it is. I don't care how tough it is. As long as you are honest with me and you tell me straightforward what is required. I'm not signing on the dotted line and saying, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, if I don't understand is what is required of me. And so he explained. He said, you're required to pray 5 times a day. You're required to go on Hajj if you're going. And so he went through all the points. And then I said to him, but praying 5 times a day, what does that mean? Does that mean you just blindly just go chant something without knowing why you're doing it? And he said, no. Praying 5 times a day is the entrance level into Islam. It's a minimum that's required for me to pray 5 times a day. And you do these at the 5 allocated times a day. And I asked him, why 5 times? Why is it not 3 or 4? And he answered me and he said to me, how many seconds are there in a minute? I said 60. He said, why not 65? I said, because that's the way God ordained it to be, 60 seconds in a minute. And he said, well, why is a woman pregnant for 9 months? I said, well, that's the way God ordained. He said, yeah, there we go. I said, when he asked me, why are they 12 months ago? I said, because God, okay, I get it. Because God ordained it. Because Allah said we must pray 5 times, we do it. We cannot argue. Otherwise, we can argue with why are there 12 months in the year and why are there 24 hours in a day. It's just as ridiculous to argue. We have to obey. I said, okay, I got it. Then he said to me, that's not the only time you pray. In fact, if that's the only amount of times you pray, you're in trouble. Because you need to pray more than that. That's just the entrance level. What we should be doing as Muslims is praying hundreds of times a day. And then I got that. Any time, at any place, I can stand, I can lie on my side, I can sit, and I can make my dua. I can speak to Allah. I can speak to Him and have a relationship. And so what he taught me for a year and a half, he taught me the basics. All he did was teach me Tawheed. He taught me that God is one, God is one, God is one, over and over, till I got it, till I understood it. He didn't tell me how to join the local madhab. For a year and a half, all he taught me was the basics of Islam. And what happened is that when I learned the basics, I realized that there's so much that is required for me as a Muslim. You know, to be a Muslim is not just taking the Shahada. There's things that you need to continue doing after that. And that is to get your roots, to make sure that you understand properly what you have just done.
Love for the sake of Allah, hate for the sake of Allah. Give for the sake of Allah, withhold for the sake of Allah. That's how we save our iman.
Learn the art to purify your soul, to keep yourself apart from the hellfire in How to Save Our Iman. Every Thursday at 4 p.m. and repeat telecast at 2:30 a.m. UK on Peace TV.
A friendly message by Dr. Zakir. Way to salvation.
The way to salvation has been prescribed by our Creator in His last testament, the glorious Quran, in Surah Al-Asr, chapter number 103, verse number 1 to 3. Wal Asr, by time. Innal insana lafi khusr. Indeed, mankind is in loss. Illa allazina amanu, except those who have believed. Wa amilu salihat, and done righteous deeds. Wa tawasaw bil haqq, and advised each other to truth. Wa tawasaw bis sabr, and advised each other to patience. There are minimum 4 criteria required for any human being to enter Jannah, that is paradise. These are Iman, that is faith, Amal Salihat, that is righteous deeds, wa tawasaw bil haqq, that is advising each other to truth, that is Dawtul Islam, calling people to submit to God, and wa tawasaw bis sabr, advising each other to patience. Its significance has been emphasized by Imam Shafi, who said, if people were to ponder on the surah, it would have been sufficient for their salvation.
Peace TV, the solution for humanity.